We've been dealing with the subtle form of pamada and apamada so far, both from theoretical and practical aspects, and by this time we should have probably been convinced about the meaning of these subtle forms of pamada and apamada. However, it has not come to an end as yet. There are three pairs still remaining. But if you understand properly as regards the first pairs, then these still remaining pairs also would be easily understood. They are essentially, there's not much difference. The only difference is in the wording. But he feels it necessary to explain the different characteristics. If one cannot understand with one way of teaching, one may be able to understand with another kind of teaching. It may become convincing with another method of teaching the same thing. The Buddha himself also teaches in a similar way. Though the meaning is the same, he teaches with different usage. Today we shall deal with the three remaining pairs of subtle form of pamada and apamada. Buddha has preached the Dhamma. Though the Dhamma preached by the Buddha is profound and difficult to be convinced, is not easily convincing, it is deep, profound, and however, if one is free of these opposite states, Patipaka Dhammas, then the Dhamma, Buddha's Dhamma will be convincing, will be easily understood, will become apparent in one's own mind. So if one wishes to understand this profound Dhamma, which is not easily convincing, one has got to be free from these opposite states. And then one will be able to undertake this systematic practice, free from these opposite states. These opposite states are nothing but these negative emotions, kilesas. One should be free of these kilesas. So freedom from kilesas is connected with the systematic practice. So one has got to be free from the opposite states, namely kilesas. So if one wishes to practice systematically, one should listen to the Dhamma attentively. Then only one will be able to undertake the practice. Like a sick person, he or she must read the prescription carefully and the directions, and take the medicine in accordance with the directions or prescriptions. Then only one will be able to be cured of the disease, taking the prescription, taking the medicine according to directions given by the prescriber, the doctor. So this sadhana, one should be able to listen attentively to the profound, sublime Dhamma if we want to undertake this practice. That's why this systematic practice is connected with proper attentive listening to the sublime Dhamma. So if one wishes to understand the sublime Dhamma, one must pay attention listen attentively to the Dhamma. Without that, one will not be able to undertake a systematic practice. Again, like this, taking medicine, one cannot just say that, oh, this is medicine, this is enough, I'll take it. You cannot do it blindly. You must read the directions and take the medicine strictly according to the directions or instructions given by the physician. So it's with this priceless, sublime Dhamma, one should listen attentively to it and must have faith. One will listen only when one has full faith in the Buddha, which is given the Dhamma, and also the Dhamma that he has taught. And having faith, one must appreciate it and cherish it. Then only one will be able to listen attentively. Only when you are free from these opposite states, you will be able to understand and practice this systematic practice. Faith in the Buddha, as well as the way of practice given by the Buddha. There should be faith. Otherwise, one will not be able to listen to this sublime Dhamma. If one has no faith in the doctor or prescriber, the physician, nor the medicine which is prescribed, then one's disease will not be cured. So too with the practice, one should have faith in the Buddha, which has given the method and the Dhamma which is given, then only, and also the practice, systematic practice, then only one will be able to do it systematically instead of doing it blindly. When we say faith, the faith is not a blind faith. First, one should have faith in the 7 benefits as given in the discourse on the way of mindfulness. Then, after faith, one will cherish it, appreciate it, value it. Then there will be zeal, desire to undertake the practice in an unusual manner. Hence, one has to listen attentively to the sublime Dhamma and be free from these negative states, negative emotions. Then only the Dhamma will become apparent in one's own mind. So if one wishes to understand the Dhamma, one should listen to it and practice as already given. Out of these 3 pairs, the three remaining pairs of Pamara and Apamara, subtle Pamara and Apamara, first we will deal with this pair, Abahuli Kamma and Bahuli Kamma. We have to note a rising object, beginning with the main object of rising and falling, repeatedly many times as they arise, with energetically and with precision, precisely, in a sustained manner. Otherwise, you are said to be abahuli kamma, doing it heedlessly every second of the practice. When you are sitting again, you've got to note every arising object, and in this way you do it several times. In walking meditation also, you are paying attention to your foot and noting every lifting, moving and placing. Note these things. Note each object as it arises every time, innumerable times, repeatedly, often and often, many times. The same thing goes with other general objects as they arise. So, not just noting when it first appears or arises. When it arises, when the object arises repeatedly, you have to note repeatedly, many times as they arise. If you think that this is quite commonplace, very boring, if you slack and stop the practice, kilesas will not stop. Kilesas will advance because it is working, it is invading you all the time, so it will not stop, instead it will advance and invade you. So one has got to do it many times, several times, repeatedly. Of course, looking from the Western aspect, these objects may seem boring because you are noting one thing all the time, the same thing every day. However, Dhamma has to be practiced in accordance with instructions given by the teachers, like this expression Sautanda. Sauta means rule or line, ruled line, just like the carpenter's guideline in cutting or sawing the wood so that it is straight. So also when you are writing, in the beginning you've got to use ruled lines. Otherwise your sentences may go up and down and not straight, won't look good. So such is Sudanda, like the carpenter's guideline. So if one wishes to realize the benefit, one has got to practice in accordance with instruction. Otherwise, one will not realize the benefits. Then one becomes abahuli kamma, not noting as many times as required. Instead, one is stopping, slackening, resting, spaced out, gazing, fantasizing, intellectualizing, and so on. Now, this subject is not so much different from what we have discussed before about abhavana and bhavana. Bhavana means developing what should be developed. If one has not developed as yet, one should initiate it. If one has already initiated, one should develop it, enhance it. Many times, several times, innumerable times, until you reach the goal. Instead of that, if you are not acting, if you are not noting as many times as required, then yogis are said to fail in their duties. That amounts to heedlessness, pamada, failure, negligence. So as not to miss, not to be heedless, one should note repeatedly, several times, except the time when one is fast asleep. In all the four postures, while you are bending, stretching, lifting, moving, placing, note repeatedly, not just one time, but repeatedly, even if it's the same object. Then you will be said to be bahuli kamma, noting several times, many times, repeatedly. Then you will be heedful yogi. Then you will not be deviated from mindfulness. You will always be mindful, and sati will always be with you. So this is as simple as that. When we breathe air to live, breathing in and out, we do it all the time without stopping, neither holding the breath nor just forcing the breath. We breathe normally in all four postures every time throughout our life, actually, without stopping, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, and in this way we live on. So we know the benefit of this breathing in and out. If we hold it, then we will feel stiff. If we breathe fast, then we will feel tired. So we have to breathe normally, especially breathing fresh air, which we need very much. If we breathe polluted air, dirty air, then you feel sick. So it might affect your blood circulation, also cause giddiness, weakness, and even you might lose consciousness and even die. How valuable is fresh air? If you, on the other hand, if you can breathe fresh air, then you feel fresh. And not only that, just breathe once or twice, you must breathe all the time. Although breathing is, if you think carefully, think over it, it's too commonplace, and it should be boring. But it's not boring, you are breathing every time, all the time. As much as you breathe in fresh air, you feel good. It's good for your health, good for your strength. And appreciating the value of fresh air, you breathe, you avoid polluted air. Instead, you try to take fresh air. And the same thing with the Satipatthana Bhavana. And just as we say, guard yourself with vigilant mindfulness of every rising. If you note every rising, your mind will be guarded. So note everything which arises in the body. Although it may be the same object, don't feel it might seem boring, commonplace, but you got to note it, just like you breathe air, you breathe in and breathe out air, although you are doing the same thing. Excuse me. But knowing the benefit of breathing or practicing, you will become encouraged. And as much as you realize the benefit, you will breathe in or practice Satipatthana more and more. If you don't breathe in, if you don't practice, then you are bound to allow these impurities of greed, hatred and delusion to enter your stream of consciousness. Then you become mentally sick, just as when you feel physically sick if you don't take fresh air. So if you take fresh air, then there will be no chance of these impurities to arise. So also every time the object arises, you have to note them meticulously, precisely. But just one, as we have already discussed, with one moment of mindfulness, you are able to get the upper hand of these negative emotions in three categories: gross, medium and refined. For every moment of noting, you are getting this benefit. Like breathing fresh air, every time you breathe in fresh air, you feel fresh and healthy and energized. So you have to think in that terms. Now you are noting rising and falling, or every rising object, like taking in fresh air, without getting bored. Whatever arises in the body also is noted several times, innumerable times, and you should not hesitate to note these objects as they arise. Not thinking that, oh, I'm just noting the same thing over and over again. It is boring, commonplace. If you note carefully and several times, as many times as they arise, then you are said to be heedful in a subtle way, subtle apamada. You're bound to realize the benefit. Like breathing in fresh air, when fresh air gets into your body, the fresh air is effective because it freshens you and makes you healthy. So when you note the object, every time it arises, it is bound to be very effective in your insight progress of insight, and you should not feel that they are boring. And one should appreciate it, like you appreciate fresh air. you should appreciate every mindfulness of the object as it arises. And as many times as they rise, you know them. It is the more you know, the better it is. Buddha himself has given this verse in the Dhammabhata, which means that anyone, monk or laity, man or woman, whoever it may be, one should practice purity, not impurities, instead of practicing impurities. If one practices purity or pure deeds and develop these pure deeds, one must do it repeatedly, and one should be able to practice these pure deeds repeatedly. Just like air is essential for us, especially this fresh air. When one gets into this air gets in the body, it's going to be healthy. So you should not breathe just once or twice. You should breathe many times, several times, innumerable times. So is with the case of the performance of purity, pure deeds. One should perform these energetically with strong desire to undertake it, with activity, being active, alert, diligent and vigilant. Like when you are breathing in fresh air, you do it heartily, with all your heart and soul, to your heart's content. So when you do it with alertness, activity, diligence and vigilance. Why does the Buddha exhort the beings to practice purity? This expression punya, which is purity, blamelessness, should be accumulated every second of your life. Because they are pure and because these deeds are pure and blameless, they are good. And as you accumulate these deeds from very small quantity to a large quantity, to a great heap of purity and blamelessness, you are bound to, this will be the cause for the realization of peace and happiness. So everyone wishes to be happy and peaceful. So whoever wants it should accumulate this blameless and pure deeds from very small amount, accumulate them to a large quantity. Then only in future one will be able to realize the real peace. One has to practice purity of the three behaviors, body, speech and mind, which is quite important. This mental power, the mental power, which is the cause of this purity, is nothing but the continuous practice of mindfulness sati. Not to forget, but to be alert and diligent, and not to miss anything, not to miss even a single object. That should be one's determination. Applying steadfast mindfulness, sustaining it. And in the characteristics, the qualities of sati is given these two kinds of manifestations. The first one is Visaya Abhimukha Bhava Vachipatthana. Visaya means object of attention, beginning with rising and falling, which is the main object. Abhimukha, confronting or facing, to be concurrent. And that is the manifestation of sati. That is the quality of sati. One quality, one manifested quality of sati. Another quality, of course, Areka Vachipatthana. Now, we are just discussing the first one, namely Visaya Abhimukha Bhava Vachipatthana. Every time an object arises, the noting mind faces it, comes into face to face with the object, confronts it, to be concurrent. When rising takes place, the noting mind comes into face to face with it, confronts it, to be concurrent with it. Same thing goes with other objects as they arise in the body. As they arise, the noting mind, sati, comes into face to face with the object, to be concurrent. Facing it, that is the meaning of it. Same thing when you are practicing walking meditation. As you lift your foot, your noting mind sati confronts it, comes into face to face with the object, in this case lifting of the foot. From the beginning, through the middle to the end. And when you do moving of the foot, your noting mind comes into face to face with moving from the beginning, through the middle to the end, and also with placing. In this way, you try to grasp this object, to cover your noting mind, so that your noting mind covers these objects in the entirety. So that noting mind is concurrent with the object, coming to face with it, applying energy and position, taking an aim at the object, adjusting it. If you are not aiming, if it's not concurrent because of your lack of aim, then you got to adjust your aiming power with the practice. If it's deviated from the object, then you try to adjust it, rectify it. And if you overshoot it, also you adjust it so that it falls on the object. And you apply this, exert your energy, and if the energy is not, if you're wanting energy, if you need energy, you got to apply energy. And if energy is excess, you got to tone down, and in this way you adjust your exertion of energy, so that your noting mind will be concurrent or come into face to face with the object of attention. Then your noting mind will not fly off, will not become restless, run away from the object. Instead, it will fall calm and collected on the object of attention, deepening your concentration. So that your noting mind is concurrent. If the noting mind is not concurrent, then impurities are bound to enter your stream of consciousness. Whereas when you are able to sustain your sati in a steadfast manner, continuously, without gap, then kilesas will not have a chance to enter your stream of consciousness. And with the practice of this activating of mindfulness continuously, facing the object, the kilesas will not have a chance to arise in the stream of consciousness. Your mind is said to be protected. That comes to that brings us to the second quality of manifestation of sati, namely areka vichupadana, the manifestation of protection or guarding. If it's not guarded, then kilesas will enter. If the mind is guarded, they will not enter, because then your mind is properly protected. Or avarana, the obstructions, the disturbances, the undesirable things are hindered or obstructed prevented from entering your stream of consciousness. So in this way you try to accumulate your mindfulness so that they are continuous. The preceding mindfulness is continuous with the succeeding sati. Then you become energized, becoming secure, gauti. If there is security, you are bound to be free from impurities. That is vimoti. You got to develop these things. Then if you are not free from these impurities, your mind will be restless. They will not be calm. They will be restless and excited with passion, malice and delusion, raga, dosa, moha, your mind will be affected by these unwholesome roots, and also other impurities will enter and excite your mind. Now you are free from this excitement, you are free from these impurities, so that your mind calms down, free of these passion, madness and delusion. In this way, you are set to achieve so-called santi, not yet total peace, but temporary peace, part-time peace, tadanga santi, at the moment of the application of sati, at the time of mindfulness. So you accumulate it, to accumulate this punya, purity and blamelessness. This performance of accumulation is due to sati. Sati is the main thing. Then you got to accumulate one by one, not all at once, but you got to accumulate one purity or one peace, one momentary peace after another, not a large kind of peace or a heap of peace all at once, at a time, at the same time. You got to do it every second, accumulate it, so that you are free from these disturbances. And as much as you are able to accumulate, you are bound to become energized. Then you will be deepening your concentration and insight, realizing peace. So this is Tadanga Sandi. You accumulate it in order to realize the final, ultimate Sandi, peace, Achanta Sandi. So when one peace is attained, it will not be so strong. It will be still weak. But if you do it continuously, you are going to achieve a fantastic, energetic peace. So you do it repeatedly, such as Bahuli Kama, which is beneficial in the practice. Not like some of you from the West, thinking that you are noting the same thing all over and over again. It is boring, but here you got to be patient. Only patience leads to Nibbana. You got to accumulate it, and accumulate in order to realize happiness. But this kind of happiness is not the happiness of sense objects. It is the happiness of the Dhamma happiness, which excels manifold, many times, the happiness of worldly pleasures. Excuse me. We're talking about this Santi, peace. We talk about this Tadanga Santi, temporary, momentary peace. This is only a part-time peace, partial peace. That hence this expression Tadanga Santi. When we say part-time peace or partial peace, it goes without saying there are other kinds of Santi, peace. So we have these three kinds of Santi: Tadanga Santi, Achanta Santi, and Sammuti Santi. Tadanga Santi, as we have discussed, partial peace, that part-time peace or momentary peace. Peace realized at the moment of the practice of mindfulness, sati, as one notes the immediately arising object of attention, we sustain mindfulness. If one is not mindful, as the saying goes, unmindfulness allows kilesas. Mindfulness removes them. So with the mindfulness, kilesas will not enter, so you feel peace, purity, extinguishing all the fires of kilesas, and realize the peace. Such a peace is known as Tadanga Santi, temporary, momentary peace. And as you activate your mindfulness several times, innumerable times, as much as you note, you will be accumulating this Tadanga Santi, momentary peace. If you note 10 times, you will gain 10 times, 10 moments of Tadanga Sandhi. If you note 100 moments, 100 times, then you will gain 100 moments of Tadanga Sandhi. As you go on accumulating it, you become energized, building up momentum. Excuse me. Mindfulness leading to deepening of concentration, from concentration to wisdom, insight. And in this way, progressing along the path, you achieve the final, the real peace, Achanta Sandhi. Going beyond, coming to the end of mind and body, realizing the peace of extinction, beyond the rising and passing of conditioned phenomena, going beyond mind and body, and such as Achanta Sandhi. You do it if you note whatever arises continuously, without resting. These conditioned phenomena like seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, mind, body, things, mind, mental, psychophysical phenomena are arising without rest, they are without gap, they are arising all the time. So this Sandhi goes beyond, reaches beyond these ever arising psychophysical phenomena, conditioned phenomena, to the end of this mind-body. Peace beyond this arising and passing away. Such is Achanta Sandhi, the ultimate real peace. So in order to gain or realize this assured peace, one has got to accumulate the forerunner peace, which arises on a part-time basis temporarily. You accumulate this momentary peace, and building up momentum to realize the final ultimate peace, Achanta Sandhi. Going to the end of the mind-body, or going to the end of conditioned phenomena, rising and passing away of conditioned phenomena, coming to total extinction, peace of extinction. This is Achanta Sandhi. So Tadanga Sandhi is concerned with insight practice, Vipassana. Tadanga Sandhi is termed as Vipassana Sandhi, peace during insight practice, Vipassana. And Achanta Sandhi is synonymous with Nibbana. As regards the third kind of Sandhi, Sammuti Sandhi, this is just in name, nominal peace. Doesn't make any sense from the practical aspect. Believing in the Supreme Being, existence of the Supreme Being, performing such things as sacrificial rites, because it is said that if you believe me, if you believe in me, then I'll give you happiness. So with that concept, one have faith in the Supreme Being, and you don't need to do anything. You don't have to practice anything. Just believe in it. With just faith, you will become happy. That kind of promise, that kind of Sandhi, which is nominal Sandhi, which doesn't make sense in a practical way. So this Sammuti Sandhi, which is nominal peace, is not does not lay down any path of practice to realize Tadanga Sandhi or Achanta Sandhi. Mere just having faith in the Supreme Being, just this concept is Sammuti Sandhi. This is only nominal by name. Only people talk about it, but that's not a real peace. So there's no substance behind it. So out of these three things, the practical, the kind of peace which has practical sense, are the first two, namely Tathanga Sandhi and Achanta Sandhi. As for Sambuddhi Sandhi, it is just through fantasy or imagination, having faith in the Supreme Being. So out of these three Sandhi, Achanta Sandhi, whoever wants to achieve this Achanta Sandhi, the ultimate, the real peace, one has got to invest Tathanga Sandhi. That means work out, accumulate, cultivate Tathanga Sandhi, momentary peace. And only when you are able to accumulate this part-time peace, you will be able to achieve this final, ultimate peace, Achanta Sandhi. As for the third kind of Sandhi, Sambuddhi Sandhi, it is just by name, imagination, not the real peace. It is a kind of belief. So this much about this kind of this aspect of subtle pamada and apamada. Another pair, the next pair is this anaditana and aditana. In the practice of the high level kusala deeds, good deeds, and initiating it, developing it, this anaditana, it means not standing on the side of this practice. That amounts to heedlessness. And if you are standing on the side of the practice, this becomes heedfulness, apamada. When we say standing, means standing steadfastly, strongly, with heart and soul, with the concept that if you do this, you're bound to get that, definitely, leading to strong desire to undertake the practice. Such is standing steadfastly on the side of the practice. Then, when one undertakes the practice, one activates mindfulness steadfastly, sustaining it, and not just giving away, not giving in, not giving up. If one does not stand on this side, then if one does not stand steadfastly on the side of the practice of mindfulness, then one is said to be pamada in a subtle way. When one undertakes with heart and soul, energetically, that I am determined, making a vow to just practice this and this only, without fail, that means you are standing steadfastly on the side of the practice. Such is a subtle form of apamada, heedfulness. This will be continued tomorrow.